I guess let's just start with the first one. Maybe like what about this is interesting and like how what like our kind of post just popped up, right? And so what about just talking about masculinity was interesting to you, and then what do you think it means to be a good man? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, to be honest, masculinity is one of kind of my, I guess, passion topics. Just because, it's so much more fluid and there's such a wider spectrum of what it can be than, what it's traditionally defined as. And I think, a lot of us have experienced trying to fit into this box of what the traditional man is understood as, and we're so much more than that. And I try to encourage other men to be all that masculinity can be. And the thing is, I always say that a good man or just being a man in general is defined as whatever you define it as. As a man, you are you already are a man. So whatever
Hmm.
you are, whatever you want to be, whatever you aspire to be, is what a good man is. um and I just think in general it's just being authentic and true to yourself and to your values. um Obviously just being a good kind of citizen of the world, having empathy and respect for other people. um, just moving in love and being conscious of the world around you. And so yeah, I would just say in general, being a good man is being a good human being, you know.
Hmm.
And so that would kind of be my basis definition. What a good man.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Cool. So like the themes are like being true to yourself,
Hmm.
leading with love and kindness. I think that's an awesome definition. And where did you kind of gather that? Was it mentor or schooling? Like where did you develop your perspective on like your version of masculinity?
I think it was just, through kind of coming to figure out who I was as an individual. So a lot of it was figuring out what I didn't want to be as a man. Seeing different examples, especially, in the African American community, there's just such a rigid kind of profile of what a black man can be. Um, so just seeing kind of a lot of people fit into certain narratives of being a thug or this, that, and the third. Very chauvinistic type of man, and just not ever feeling like I fit into that box. Just not ever feeling like one who was comfortable or really able to suppress emotions or sensitivity or compassion for others. One who always was kind of led by like my heart space, and an environment where that was strongly discouraged. And so after trying to feed into that and fit that role for a while, it just wasn't natural for me.
Mm.
So just as I got older, I wanted to lean kind of more naturally into who I am naturally, which is just a very caring, compassionate, empathetic individual. And just kind of coming to understand, like I said before, that as long as I either by gender or by sex am a man, then whatever I am, whatever I choose to be, is what a man is. And not necessarily having to fit into things that I saw or internalized as growing up. But in terms of people that I kind of look to, um, a lot of who I am as a man, I took from my father. Um, just kind of his compassion for people, treating people with respect, walking with confidence, that sort of thing. So just being comfortable in who you are, and just owning that. I think that that's one of the strongest and kind of most masculine traits that we can have, is that just however you are as a person, own that, and just
Hmm.
be comfortable in that. So yeah, I would say that a lot of it just came from kind of encountering those, kind of traditional toxic masculinity, images and tropes, and just not wanting to be that. Just
Hmm.
feeling like, deep down, I knew I wasn't that type of person. And just kind of allowing myself to be myself. And I would just encourage, all men to do that. Like allow yourself the space to be yourself. Like anything else, race, gender, all of that stuff. It's a wide spectrum of things that you can be. And when you lean into your individuality, you just broaden that spectrum for yourself and for others to really just kind of, walk in who they are.
Yeah, I love that concept you introduced. Like, if you identify as a man, then you're a man, and because of that individuality, that lengthens the spectrum of what masculinity is.
Absolutely.
I love that. And then the other thing I wanted to ask was, so as you kind of experienced and encountered versions of masculinity that you felt like you didn't want to adopt,
Mhm.
was there any friction or struggle as you kind of encountered them and either rejected and made your own? Because I know I've heard from other guys I've talked to, like they feel like they are different or don't want to suppress their emotions, but kind of have a period of time where they either get lost or feel like they have to adopt that. Was there any kind of friction or struggle where you kind of like how did you move through that, and or were you just kind of able to stay fully apart on your own? Because I know it can be a growing process.
Yeah, no, I wish. I absolutely went through that period where it was a struggle. Like I said, kind of growing up where I grew up, I definitely saw just a lot of just kind of examples of toxic masculinity in my peers and folks who were older, and just believed that that was the way to be, for a long time. I tell people all the time, it's kind of reinforced in some of our interactions, which can make it hard for you to, kind of break out of that mold. It can be reinforced, like I said, in your friendships and your romantic relationships, where, even women expect you to be a certain type of way.
Hmm.
So it took a while for me to it just came to the point where, you get tired of the performativeness of it, right?
Mm.
It's like, doing all this for, other people's kind of comfort and satisfaction and that sort of thing. And that's just not a way for, you to live a fulfilling life. Um, so, it just came to a certain point where, I just wanted to embrace my authenticity, embrace who I felt that I was growing into and becoming, and just really, be myself. And like I said, I think for any human being, that's just kind of what we all desire, especially as men. I think as men, like it's just we just want to be able to feel safe and comfortable being the full spectrum of ourselves. I was telling someone the other day that we so often paint humanity as black and white, and it's really gray. You know what I mean? Like there's so many complexities, things that we think are mutually exclusive. It's not an either or, it's an and. We as human beings can be so many different things. And I don't think that that men should be limited in that way where you can only, you can be this but not this. And so, it's almost a little bit rebellious in a way where it's like, I want to kind of, be a part of reversing that ideology and reversing those trends of, this kind of fencing in and suppressing of, the spectrum of masculinity. I want, just like anything else in humanity, it's so broad and so vast, and so many different things that it can be. And I just want more people to be able to see that. So
Yeah, I love those ideas. Like the idea that masculinity can be a performance
mhm.
is a big one. Where you're really a lot of behaviors are really just for other people to show
Yeah,
them that you're this, this, and this.
yeah,
When internally you don't feel aligned with them. And the other thing you mentioned was, I love the rebellious thing, because it's like realizing it's a performance and then having the strength to just like walk off the stage and be like, all
Absolutely.
right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna quit. But it's hard, and it takes some
Right.
serious, like, you're rebelling against the flow of the main river. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
The other thing you mentioned was like the theme was like staying true to your authentic self. Like,
Mhm.
how have you gotten in touch with yourself? Like, how have you gotten to better know yourself? Like, do you have any practices or ways of thinking that allow you to like check in with yourself and like see where you are?
It was just a lot of learning, kind of, you know, in our community, we don't really have access to, even just the verbiage, of mental health, emotional health. It's not something, especially among, African American men, that's talked about a lot, and it should be, discussed a lot more. So it was just kind of learning what different things that I was experiencing were, and learning that they weren't just isolated to me, that, a lot of people, in fact, go through these sort of things, especially, men, um, being one of the higher groups that are, committing suicide and that sort of thing. We all kind of, and, this masculinity piece is a big part of that,
Hmm.
struggling against, these norms that we feel like we have to fill. Um, so it was just kind of learning, more about mental health and about, different aspects of things. Therapy, of course. Um, just, encountering different people and resources that were able to give understanding and language to, different things that I was experiencing, and give me tools to be able to, uh, be able to kind of understand those things in myself and then work through them. So, in terms of self practices, um, just, meditation, exercise, just trying to, I love being outside. So those
Hmm.
sort of things, being around people, and then community is a big part of it too. Just being around people who, allow you to be your authentic self, who support that person. And, we have to be active in seeking those things out. Um, but yeah, I would say those are just a few of the things that helped me to really, walk in this healthy, authentic version of myself.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the language is so important, because
Hmm.
I totally agree with you that like when you're talking about things, how you're feeling and how your head is doing, like getting the right words is um, hard to explain them, but it's so important to be able to share how you're feeling, how you're doing,
Yeah.
with others, get community around you. And a big part of that is access to the resources that can give you the language. Like a
Yeah.
therapist can help put words to how you're feeling, and some practices like, okay, if you feel this, it might mean this.
Right.
And that's so critical to just like have the words to, because once you can really voice it, then it
Mm.
becomes a real thing you can work on, and
Yeah.
that's something you need to hide from as
Yeah.
well.
And I think even, having those conversations amongst each other as men,
Hmm.
is something that, we could definitely, do better, and just, be more, intentional about doing, because, it's such a, in male friendships, that can be such a taboo topic to broach, any sort of, um, insecurity or just, struggle can be, we don't want to feel weak or whatever the case may be around other men. But it's like, I think, just being able to help each other through those things and understand that we're all human, is just something that I feel like a lot of us would benefit from, just being able to have those conversations with each other as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, I mean, at least that's part of my goal with putting in time with just capturing all these stories, and like getting like the language in which you describe, that kind of language, like putting it out there just so it's more familiar.
Right.
I'm not a professional therapist.
Yeah.
I don't know if you are, but I'm definitely not.
No.
But it's
No.
but it's just like just to normalize conversations that are not just totally surface level, and
Absolutely.
just start to get it out there to investigate. And so I know I joined late. I can go a little over, but I want to be respectful of your 11
Oh, I'm
a.m. stop
fine.
day.
Yeah. I'm
So maybe
fine.
we go a couple minutes over. I've been doing in some of these interviews is like just kind of offering our platform up to you. So if
Mhm.
it like if there's any either message that you want to share to people who might be listening, like words of advice or an anecdote, something you learned recently, or it's just like a resource, a book you read, or just linking your Instagram or work you might do. It's been awesome just like kind of totally giving like of the followers for like free reign of the platform for like a snippet that you want
Yes.
to share, and maybe there isn't anything, but like always want to give the that opportunity.
Well, I mean, I think just the main thing that I would say, that I've kind of said throughout, is just, I just want men to feel encouraged to be themselves, and to really just lean into all that you are, because there's so much that you are and that you have to offer, to society, that limiting yourself to one thing or trying to fit into a box is, it's doing yourself and other men a disservice. You know what I mean? And so I just want to encourage you that the strongest thing you can do is just to be yourself as an individual, and to just walk in that confidently and know that as a man, whatever you define masculinity as, whatever you define yourself as, it's what it is. And that you don't have to feel pressure to be like anyone else, or to fit into whatever standards may exist. But you can come in and you can not only add to, but kind of reverse and make those standards something that's much more beautiful and much less rigid. So I would just encourage everyone to just be their authentic selves, and know that you and there's a lot of us out there that support you and stand with you. So,
That's awesome. I mean, I live in this space like all day working on it, and it still just feels awesome to hear you say that, right? It's
yeah.
like I'm ready to run through a wall now. That's awesome. That's so well put. And I think one of the keys is like breaking breaking your limitations is really just being yourself.
Yeah.
Like it's not you're not stronger the better you perform in masculinity. You're stronger when you're really limitless with just being
Absolutely.
yourself. And that's such an important concept and such a good reminder, because I think it is a practice. Like I find myself all the time too. Like there's so many different
Mhm.
influences where like I'll have a conversation like, damn, like that really wasn't me, like the way
Right.
I acted in that conversation, or something, or like that path wasn't the right one. And I got to like remind myself to recenter. So it is a constant, just kind of checking in with yourself, like where are my influences?
Yeah.
Why am I doing this? Is it for me or is it to show someone else? You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that a lot of kind of masculinity or toxic masculinity, as we understand it, is around this feeling that we have to prove or validate ourselves as men, when in fact it's like you already are. Like, if you're born that way, if you identify that way, you already are, like, so just bringing yourself to whatever. And I mean, it's a constant struggle for all of us to show up as ourselves authentically in every situation. But as long as you're pushing towards that, um then you are already as masculine as they come. So
Yeah, amen to that. I mean, it's so important uh to voice that, and I think it'll be really cool to just like share how you've captured that feeling, because like I know what you're talking about, and like I'm sure my version is different than your version, but
Right.
like I can, when you say that, like I can picture when I show up as like my best self or an authentic version of myself, and like that feels great. And I'm sure my version's different than yours, but
Mm.
I think everyone can identify with like, okay, that felt really great and that felt like me, even if it's just a flash.
Yeah.
And then just working on that and trying to grow it and make it something more consistent is one of the keys. Um, but that's awesome. So I I want to I'll capture our time here, so because I have a lot of video editing to get through, but I'm excited to rewatch ours, and I think you captured so that some of the concepts that I think are healthiest and strongest in a really really powerful way. So I like thank you so much for jumping on our post and be willing to talk to me and being patient with my um, grandfatherly technical abilities.
And no problem. Happens to the best of us. But I definitely appreciate the opportunity and really appreciate you guys even having the platform in the first place, because it's definitely a conversation that needs to be taking place more, and something that I'm honored to be a part of.